size and inhospitable climate. The Waffen-SS grew into maturity on the Eastern Front, and its well-deserved reputation for dash and determination in the attack was further enhanced by its steadfastness in defense. Waffen-SS soldiers were living in a cruel, remorseless world, driven by their belief in their Führer and in Germany's ultimate victory. In just 6 months of the bitter fighting, the Waffen-SS lost over 1,000 officers and 35,000 men. The invasion of the Soviet Union gave the Waffen-SS the motive needed to recruit Aryan youths from the so-called Germanic countries of Norway, Denmark, Flanders, and the Netherlands in the European crusade against Bolshevism. Himmler's Germanic mania delayed the decision to include volunteers from France and Belgium, but in 1943, they too were eventually permitted to serve in the ranks of the Waffen-SS.
Vous me demandez les raisons pour lesquelles je me suis engagé à la Waffen-SS.
You're asking me why I enlisted in the Waffen-SS. I shall start by saying that, in general, the reasons are the same as those which induced a very large number of people in Europe, in Western and Eastern Europe, to enlist in the Waffen-SS. The main reasons, which apply to everybody, were, firstly, to build a new Europe, which would replace the one which had collapsed during the previous years, and secondly, and only secondly, to defend this new Europe against the menace of Bolshevism.
Himmler had hurled his SS men into a primitive struggle in which all normally accepted rules of conduct were forgotten, in which the shooting of prisoners and wounded was no longer remarkable, in which the civilian population, already suffering from starvation and sickness, found itself caught up in a racial and ideological conflict between two fanatical systems. The 3 original divisions of the Waffen-SS were converted into armored formations and supplied with large numbers of the latest tanks. By 1944, these Waffen-SS armored divisions had become the crack striking forces of the German army. The war now turned irrevocably against Germany, and the drain on her manpower was becoming desperate. The war of attrition on the Eastern Front had swallowed up the first wave of enthusiastic Germanic volunteers and deterred the rest. Himmler was reluctantly forced to lower the strict racial and physical criteria and dilute his precious racial theories, resorting to press ganging and conscription in the Balkans and Baltic countries.
Of course, there were some people certainly who were prepared to go and fight in this voluntary, so-called voluntary legion, but no near as many as were needed for the Germans, because the forces of the Germans were going down in the war. And so the Germans just simply conscripted. The Latvian men of certain age were called to the labor exchange and told that they had the choice either to join the Latvian Legion or to join the police